Most marital conflicts are not caused by what happens within the marriage, but what took place before the marriage, especially in the process of choosing a spouse. I'm going to tell you 10 key words to understand what is an intelligent selection, so that your choice may be a choice and not a random catch. The first word I want to share is motivation. Motivation. The right motive in choosing your spouse will generate a marriage with the ideal person. Now, when your motives are the incorrect ones, generally problems will overwhelm the relationship. Oftentimes, when couples come to ask me for counsel, after going over the current situations, I ask them, long ago, when you chose your partner, what motivated you to choose him or her instead of another? Sadly, most don't know or don't remember clearly what motivated them to choose the person. It is almost as if they went to a pond to fish and just get whatever they caught. Many studies have shown there are incorrect motives to establish relationships or to get married. I remember one of these, which says that girls who did not enjoy their father's love or the influence of a male role model as a child or as a teen tend to, because of the deficiency, to become sexually active earlier in life, or to choose wrongful partners and face greater percentages of divorce than those who have a male guidance, especially if they had a parent since childhood. But the correct motivation has to do with God. It has to do with an intelligent search for the person God has for you. Unfortunately, most people do not have God as part of their journey, and therefore their motivations will lack depth. Those incorrect motives will later lead to feeling tied to people who realistically cannot bring them happiness. What is your motivation to enter into marriage? Or what is the motivation behind getting married? Remember that if God is not within it, everything will lead to unhappiness. The second word for an intelligent choice is the word love. You could say, I thought everyone marries out of love. Yet there is a difference between infatuation and actually loving. Love is a voluntary and committed decision of giving ourselves to another person with the goal of making them completely happy. Love fully expresses itself during marriage, and so, as we choose our spouse, we prepare a path towards love. There may be a variety of feelings, but feelings come and go. They are not something we work towards. Love, on the other hand, is nurtured. As we get to know someone, there are two fundamental questions. Can I make them happy? Can they make me happy? Once we get married, we can no longer ask if we are happy or if the other person is making us happy. The only question at that point should be, am I making my spouse happy? So to make an intelligent choice of a soulmate, I need to begin to understand what love really is, and I need to build it prior to marriage. The third word is attraction. Attraction is vital, yet it should not be the deciding factor When we meet someone we're attracted to, there's a tendency for that person to show the best of themselves, not necessarily their reality. For this reason, it is vital to be in control of the psychological and physical attraction of the relationship. During this stage, the brain releases dopamine, which generates pleasurable sensations similar to those generated by cocaine. We then try to maintain that sensation by physical contact, which can in turn generate either an addiction or even a sudden lack of interest. So it is key to remain in control of our physical attraction during the first stage of the relationship in order to give ourselves the opportunity to know our partner as they really are. When couples engage in sexual experiences before marriage, for the most part, once they face the challenges of everyday life during marriage, the first element that is affected is their sexuality. Furthermore, sexuality can unite incompatible couples. So remember, there should be attraction, but attraction alone should not make the choice for you. Communication is another key word in the process of the election of a spouse. Communication, especially in the first part of the couple's relationship. The foundation for all relationships should be communication. Remember, when we're living the initial part of the relationship, no one shows who they really are, looking to attract the other individual. This is a phase we could call ideal or perfect. Creating channels of communication allows us to access the other person's reality. Generally, couples begin by meeting, experiencing attraction for one another, and immediately begin to give way to psychological and physical excitement. Communication is at times left to the side. Once inside the marriage, there is no foundation for communication, and as life's problems arrive, the relationship cannot sustain them. So what's the benefit of communication? It allows us to evaluate reality, to understand where the other person is coming from. What do they want out of life? What is their perspective about God? What are their plans? If we don't know these things, it is very likely that in time, each member of the relationship will repeat the mistakes and behaviors learned in the family they emerged from. This is why communication is key in getting to know whom our loved one is, and not just to know who they are, but to see those things we may have in common with which we will move the relationship forward. The next word is friendship. Friendship. Most couples, when they're physically and psychologically attracted and excited about each other, almost immediately begin a dating relationship, and they begin to share the physical benefits. But friendship is something else. It means building a relationship of knowing and recognizing each other within boundaries. This is when I come to know the needs of the one I love, and they come to know mine, and we seek compatibility in our lives. This takes time. Building a relationship based on friendship takes time. Therefore, most dating relationships that begin quickly tend to end quickly. And if they marry, the vital element of friendship will be missing when it comes time to deal with the issues of life. Never forget that without friendship, there cannot be a healthy marriage. Without friendship, there will not be a wise choice for a soulmate. Another key word to make a wise choice of a spouse, and not a matter of luck, is the word compatibility. Compatibility. Many think that compatibility is to be similar to one another. That is not the case. Others believe that compatibility has to do with having similar sexual interests. That is not the case either. To be compatible stems from having something in common. It is to build a common ground in order to grow. This common ground is built with values. In other words, a couple needs to find the long-lasting values that will allow them to face life. Values such as faith, hope, love, mercy, humility, patience. When this base is built before marriage, as the couple faces problems, they will share enough common ground to face life. They will be compatible to share a life together. Without these values and without these strong bases, what appeared as compatibility at one point will turn out to be incompatible permanent. So remember, in order to be compatible, you have to build a foundation of shared values. Another word you should never forget when it comes to couples is the word acceptance. Acceptance. Generally, couples experience great excitement as they begin their relationship. If the couples place priority on communication, setting boundaries to this excitement and seeking to find their compatibility, there will come a time where each person will begin to understand the realities of the other person. They get to know who their loved one is, both their strengths and their weaknesses. That's when a major question arises. Do I accept the other person as they are? If I accept them, then it's the ideal time to begin a dating relationship. It is here that I begin to understand what love really is. I begin to understand what it is to see myself with a person and wanting to make them happy. The case may also be that even after seeing the deficiencies on the other person, I may still be driven by the fear of being alone, or even by being obsessed with the other person. I may get to tolerate their weaknesses. Yet, everything which I tolerate before marriage, I will dislike within marriage. So I need to avoid mere tolerance because it denies me the opportunity to build a relationship based on absolute love. The case may be that I may never come to accept the other person as they really are, and we may remain in a friendship. This is also a form of love, because I'm not committing myself to that person, and I'm allowing them to be free to find happiness with someone else. You know, God made things in such a way that when you have a relationship based on a mutual understanding and project towards the future, a specific hormone is released called oxytocin, which helps us to pursue lasting relationships. Within the context of marriage, it may also bring us greater sexual enjoyment. So don't forget that in every successful relationship, there must be acceptance. Another key word, negotiation. Negotiation is key in the process of election. Of course, negotiations are never easy. This is potentially the hardest stage previous to marriage. The couple has already built a friendship. They have good communication. They're compatible. And they have accepted each other. Now they need to project themselves toward the future and need to find common ground on those key areas to all couples. This, of course, is not easy. There has to be flexibility in the negotiation. Without it, there will not be compromise. But as they open the way to agreement and compromise, they open the way to making a commitment. Whichever elements are not discussed and negotiated previous to the marriage will potentially create conflict within it. Therefore, even if it's hard, there has to be negotiations. I know many couples whose greater problems in their marriage is due to the fact that they never spend time negotiating key issues, such as what will be the relationship with each other's families, finances, friends, how free time will be spent, and so forth. So don't forget, without negotiation, there will be war. With it, there will be peace. One of the final words necessary to understanding the process of choosing a spouse, and to avoid this choice to simply becoming a fishing expedition, we must be clear about the meaning of commitment. When a couple gets to know each other, they have maintained their boundaries, they have found healthy ways of communication, are compatible, and have mutually accepted one another, and have negotiated the key areas of their future life, they are ready to enter into a commitment. In other words, to make a pact of love. A pact of love before God. To promise that from now on, they will dedicate themselves completely to making the other person happy. This allows the relationship to flourish, since the difficult periods of negotiation and adjustments are now gone. Now they become committed to one another, and even a wedding day can be chosen. In every society, there is always a specific moment that is chosen to show the world around us that we are now willing to change our roles in that society. No longer children, no longer living single, and now willing to become part of a couple, ready to make one another happy. In every culture, there has always been specific moments when each person promises before society that they will now be dedicated to live with someone, so that individual may be happy. This brings rights and responsibilities. Commitment frees us of added stress in life. When there is no commitment, sooner or later comes a stress due to uncertainty on one's role within society. This is a primary reason why commitment is greatly important towards future happiness. Fear is commitment's greatest enemy. A lot of people are afraid of commitment. If there's fear, it is best not to make that pact. It is best not to get married. These fears can be the result of ideas generated since childhood. They may be the result of previous failed relationships, or from the fear of separating from biological family. There can be multiple fears. But the important thing is to, whenever possible, overcome these fears. Marriage enhances the individual. It doesn't diminish them. Let's be clear about one thing. When we are part of a complete relationship, completely generated by love, life gains greater meaning. Studies show that when we are happily married, we are healthier and our life expectancy grows. Therefore, don't forget that in order to be happy within marriage, you need to fully understand what commitment is all about.
La última palabra que nosotros debemos entender en este proceso de elección es la palabra sexualidad.
Sexuality. This is a strong word, a word that is generally misunderstood, because generally, when we say the word sex, we imagine a couple having intercourse as an instinctive behavior, which we call love, but it's in reality limited to a portion of the day or of our lives. But sexuality goes much further. It is the tip of the iceberg on a committed relationship. It is what God wants for you to enjoy together when you have found all compatible elements, when you have clear values, when you have accepted one another, and when you have established a commitment. It comes at the point when you present yourselves before God and you say, I will give myself from this point forward. This brings stability to a couple. Only then can sexuality be whole and complete. May you have a complete sexuality thanks to understanding it through a context of the couple's stability in God. You can choose between fishing or choosing. Your choice may be a wise one or one without wisdom, randomly or willingly. The happiness will depend greatly on 10 words that shape a wise choice: motivation,
amor,
love,
atracción,
attraction, communication,
amistad,
friendship, compatibility,
compatibilidad,
acceptance,
aceptación,
negotiation,
negociación,
commitment,
compromiso y
and
sexualidad
sexuality.
plena.
May you
Ojalá
never forget
no te
these
olvides
10
de esas 10
words.
palabras.